I learned to type really fast between flying the big heavy spaceships into those pedals, and then they put me in a box in a cell in a hospital, and learning to type medical words from the Asian guy who looked in the microscope at your cancer, and I'd overhear stuff like the surgeons come down because the surgeons like they cut out pieces and they look for cancer because then the insurance will pay for it if they find the cancer, and so you overhear these conversations between physicians, and like you hear one say stuff like, "Oh, he died like a dog," and it really f***s with you. And so they had this lab where they cut the specimens open that I knew had scalpels at all time, and I had this face the whole time, and so I would fantasize regularly while listening to like medical reports of how wonderful everyone's life was, about locking myself in that room after working, taking care of the business, and it became to be that like it's like any other escape fetish, really, but the depression is like having an spiritual toothache. It's really, really fucking hard to concentrate on anything except how much it hurts, or how much is the gaping, gnawing hole has eaten away at you. And if it takes a pipe full of a plant to lift you, to fog out all the axiomatic presuppositions you have constructed around your narrative self, as your narrative self, which you interface the world, like if your cage gets foggy enough you don't see the bars of the cage your mind has made for you, then it's a form of relief. And so like you're still in the cage, but you float above it and you see how this could be shaping you this way toward this, and how that situation over there could play out. The most fascinating thing about being in the depressions is that you're blind to all of the unknown unknowns, because you're fixated like an autist on stacking blocks on the exit door. And I had a nightmare once after playing probably 13 hours of Gauntlet in a reunion with my model for a good family from down the street. They had a pool, and in that nightmare we had been playing this game Gauntlet on we were playing probably the Super Nintendo version at that time, but he and I used to play it in the arcade down at the corner store, which is like a 7-Eleven, but it was owned by actual people instead of 7-Eleven. Anyway, we had played an assload of Gauntlet where the Blue Wizard is about to die. And the goal of that game is like to get from point A to the exit panel, which is white with the word exit written all over it. And that's a really good metaphor. Life is a gauntlet. So being in depression is a gauntlet. And so this nightmare I had, like after playing that many hours of that game, was that the next level we got to, every panel of the floor was a fake exit panel, except the real one. And maybe that's that narrow path thing. Like, the unknown unknowns are so unfathomable. You don't know that perhaps if you were successful in your attempt, you'd still wake up like 2 days before, not knowing that you had gone through with it. It's like Groundhog Day shit. You don't know. You just wake up like this. You just keep waking up like this. And a lot of times that's fucking unbearable. And you feel really alone because everyone around you looks like they're bearing it just fine, and you feel like a fucking leper because you don't want to ruin their good time. It's like all your doubts about Christ and God, you don't want to actually ask any Christians because they look like they're happy. And you don't want to fuck that up with them because you got enough guilt and shame you're dealing with already. And the thing of it is, there's so many of us there so much of the time that if, I don't know, we all hummed the same tune when we felt that way, like, maybe then we'd realize that even in that much darkness, we're not alone.